When Karen arrived with a roaring convoy of motorcycles, their engines shattering the calm of the morning, she was convinced she'd finally broken me. She claimed it was all about enforcing community standards, dispatching her hired biker crew to corner me, intimidate me into submission, and make her victory undeniable. But Karen didn't realize her power play would unravel her carefully orchestrated facade. What she had sent to my doorstep was no match for the training and strategy of someone like me, a Delta Force veteran. She thought she'd crush my resolve. Instead, she set the stage for her ultimate downfall. Karen strutted onto my property like she owned it, stepping off her pristine motorcycle with her trademark clipboard and manufactured smirk. Her tailored leather jacket and glinting sunglasses screamed self-importance. I stood on my porch, calm and calculating, knowing she had no idea the storm she had just invited. She thought she'd crush my resolve with her hired gang. Instead, she was moments away from exposing her most reckless mistake yet. I stood on my porch, calm and calculating, as their leader called out,
"You gonna come quietly, or do we have to make this ugly?"
Karen's smug voice chimed in.
Jake, I told you, compliance is mandatory. You brought this on yourself.
But she had no idea who she was dealing with. Not yet. It started when I parked 2 lots over, my truck deliberately nondescript, no identifiers that could give away who I was or why I was there. Every instinct hummed like it used to in Kandahar. Every muscle tight and ready. I wasn't here for a drink or a chat. I was here to see the people Karen had hired, the muscle she thought would scare me off my land, and I'd planned every move meticulously. By the time 9:48 rolled around, the gang had started filtering out, one by one. The Ladera towering man with that jagged scar on his cheek stepped onto the patio first, cigarette dangling from his lips. His leather jacket bore the same flaming skull emblem, and he scanned the lot with the slow, deliberate pace of someone who thought he was untouchable. Another biker emerged next, wiry, with a twitchy energy that betrayed his nerves. He flipped a crowbar in his hand idly, while another leaned against his motorcycle, arms crossed, eyes shadowed beneath a worn cap. I'd seen their kind before, men who thought numbers meant strength and didn't know what they were up against when facing trained precision. Karen herself was still inside. I could see her silhouette through the cracked blinds, standing in front of a table, gesturing animatedly at what looked like a map spread out in front of her. Her smugness practically radiated through the glass, even from a distance. I waited, silent, watching. By 10:13, the gang was back inside, and Karen finally stepped out. Her designer leather jacket glinted under the dim patio lights, her clipboard tucked under her arm like it was a weapon. She scanned the lot once, her confidence unshaken, before strolling back toward her SUV. It wasn't just arrogance that kept her moving smoothly, it was a kind of belief that she was untouchable, that her power was absolute. I parked a mile away, my gear at the ready, and started mapping out my entry. Karen wanted a war, and she was about to learn just what that meant. I slid into a shadowy booth in the corner, the perfect vantage point. The gang was gathered by a rusted trash can in the center of the room, a map sprawled across its dented lid. The leader of the bikers, the man with the jagged scar on his cheek, leaned over the map, pointing.
"Here's the route,"
he said, his voice gravelly.
He makes a move, we cut him off. No damage, just pressure.
Another biker, wiry and twitching like he was running on fumes, scoffed.
"Why not just finish it? Karen's nervous. You can see it."
"And if he doesn't fold?"
One of them growled. Karen's eyes narrowed.
Then we make him.
I didn't flinch, didn't move, but I felt the shift. Karen wasn't running this show, not entirely. She was taking orders from someone higher up, someone who wanted me to sweat but not bleed. Yet, the door swung open, and in walked Jake McBride, the man I hadn't seen in years, the man I never wanted to see again. McBride didn't look in my direction, but another biker near the bar did. His eyes scanned the room once, twice, and lingered on my shadowy corner for a beat too long. I stood up calmly, leaving no trace of my presence behind as I slipped out the back door. Karen might not have seen me, but I'd seen enough. When I returned home, the barn door was slightly ajar. Not broken into, just left open enough to unsettle me. I stepped inside to find the grim display. A crow hung upside down from the rafters, its neck twisted grotesquely, a message scrawled onto the stall door. "Still watching, soldier." The chill in the air was no accident. Below the crow sat a spent 7.6 2mm casing, clean and deliberate. They weren't bluffing anymore. They were making it personal. The HOA meeting hall was packed. Karen stood front and center, reigning over the room like a self-appointed monarch. I strode to the center and tossed a thick folder onto the table in front of her. Karen's eyes flickered to the folder, then back to me.
What is this?
She asked. "Evidence," I replied evenly. Slowly, she opened the folder. Her face paled as photos, invoices, and screenshots spilled out. Images of McBride standing on her porch. Payments to Simmons Valley Compliance Patrol. Drone footage, complete with timestamps, showing the surveillance of my property, a signed approval for tactical operations.
This is fabricated.
Metadata doesn't lie, Karen, I said, keeping my tone calm but cutting. All of this came from your HOA-issued laptop. Password, protected, but not well enough. By the way, using Karen Whitaker one as your password? Bold choice. Karen's composure cracked further.
You're bluffing.
She spat, though her trembling hands betrayed her. "Oh, I'm not," I said, stepping closer. "Here's the reality, Karen. You hired McBride, someone I personally trained, thinking I wouldn't notice the connections. You thought you could intimidate me, but you forgot one thing." Her hand froze mid-air, her face a mix of defiance and fear.
You think you're untouchable.
She whispered. "No," I said, my voice low. "I think you just realized you're not in charge anymore." That's when the doors swung open, and my brother, Sheriff Callahan, strode in, flanked by 2 deputies and a cybercrime officer holding a stack of paperwork. His uniform gleamed under the fluorescent lights, his badge catching every eye in the room. Karen's voice cracked as she shrieked.
You can't be serious. He's your brother.
And that's why I didn't want to serve this myself.
He said flatly, handing her a warrant.
You set me up.
She screamed, her desperation finally breaking through.
No, Karen.
He replied calmly.
You set yourself up. Fraud, conspiracy, impersonating law enforcement, it's all here.
He turned to the room.
If anyone else here has been threatened or extorted by this HOA, now's the time to come forward.
Half the room stood up, their faces a mix of anger and relief. Karen's shoulders slumped as she realized she was alone. The deputies moved to escort her out.
You think this is over?
She hissed, turning back to glare at me, her voice dripping with venom. I stepped closer, meeting her gaze. "Karen," I said calmly, "this is just the beginning.